welcome back to Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood. It's been my first video in a long time. I've been kind of garage hermiting a bit to catch up on some of these projects. A few months ago, I guess it was probably July, I was gonna put together this I don't give an F Friday 430 to where, you know, I was gonna put it back together and make it right for Give an F Friday. So it already has all the oiling mods, the block machine work and everything, and all had been done. And then someone had chimed in saying, you know, one of the viewers had said, "You're not doing that 430 justice. You need to put a camshaft in it." And well, I said, "Hey, well, if you want to buy it, I'll put whatever camshaft in it." Well, one of the guys actually rogered up and said, "Hey, I'd love to have it with a camshaft in it." So it's like, okay, cool. Well, there was no cam cores available. So I ended up just kind of scoring a good cam that was used, and it was significantly larger than what I wanted. It was a big solid flat tappet piece, a TA308S. But what I did is I took it over to the folks at Comp. I had them regrind it, and they actually decided to come up with our own grind for this this Buick channel here, the Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood, which we're calling the Mr. Rodder's Neighborhood BMF cam. Stands for Bad Mother Flipper. So it definitely not children friendly, but it's actually a pretty awesome street cam. Let's see, I'll get you the specs here real quick. I got the specs right here. But all right, so it's 275, or I'm sorry, 475 lift, and the duration at 50 is 225 on the intake, 233 on the exhaust, and that's with a 1:6:1 rock ratio. The whole idea behind this, in the LSA on the cam is a 110, and it's to be installed on a 106 centerline. So the idea was to keep it, you want to have as much good low-end grunt as possible. This engine is actually going in a guy's 69 Wildcat. So it had to have good enough vacuum to pull, use vacuum brakes. It had to have good enough low-end torque to pull that big LeSabre around, or it was a Wildcat. But and then it had to have enough giddy up and go to, the horsepower numbers were acceptable. So it was kind of a difficult camshaft to grind, just because the requirements that we're trying to make on it. It does have considerably more ramp rate than, like, say, a TA. Let's see, the closest one is like a 284 88H. It has higher ramp rates on it, so it should have quite a bit more giddy up, more torque, more horsepower. And then this guy wanted some chop. He wanted, if you're going to spend the money on a camshaft, you want it to sound like it's got a camshaft in it, right? So he wasn't happy with the 370 horse 455 cam I was going to put in there. So we threw this camshaft together, and then I'll give you the rundown on the 430. I've been putting it together, and a lot of the stuff I've already done on videos you guys have already seen, installing pistons and stuff like that. But this one's been kind of a pain because it's a first year 67 block. So I'll show you the intricacies and differences that I found along the way that were hard lessons learned to make this thing work. So stay with me here, and we'll flip the camera around and we'll get you looking at the I do give an F Friday now 430. So it's now 440 cubes. It still has 10 1/4 to 1 compression. It may be slightly more now because it is 60 over, so it might be closer to 10 1/2, but it does have newer Fel-Pro head gaskets in it that aren't the thin the Buick 20,000s steel shim head gaskets. So it's probably sitting around the same compression ratio wise. But we'll get the camera flipped around and I'll show you the differences. All right, so here's the I do give an F Friday 430. It doesn't look anything more special than just like a regular 69 430. That was kind of the intent. The only thing different here is the lower pulley. I ended up having, your normal Buick, I got to find 67 different pulleys to make it work, and this is the only one I had. Well, I had two. I had to paint the other one. The pulleys that I had were mismatched, but it's virtually stock replacement, everything else. The only exception that is you might notice on this driver's side is this. It has the 67 only exhaust manifold, and it does look significantly different than the, let's say, 68 and later. It might be 69 and later. I'm not sure because I'm not that savvy on it. This is the first time I've ever seen one. But it does look more like a header here than the other exhaust manifolds. And that is because if you look, the indexing tab on the block is moved in 1.5 inches, okay? Normally this thing is back here on a 455. It's like almost directly even with the bell housing, but or I guess it'd be like more like the head flange there, you know, with the deck of the head surface. But it is moved in 1.5 inches, and I found that no exhaust manifold will fit this block unless you cut that nub off, and I'd already had the motor assembled, so I didn't want to be grinding on it, and it had no pan on it, right? So this pan is the one I had, I put on there like 4 or 5 times, and I kept having problems with it, and finally when I got it on there and everything seated up, I poured oil in it, and it had a pinhole in the bottom. So we went with this. This is a reproduction oil pan that you can buy from like a couple of places. Parts Place has them, Cars has them. It's part number OP676. It's a reproduction of a 67 GS oil pan, and it doesn't have the kick in the back. Okay, so it is like a full sump pan. It actually would hold like a quart more oil, and it is considerably bigger. But the 430, let's see, the carburetor I used on it was this is like a 72 350 Buick carburetor that all I did was rejet it, changed the metering rods to something like a stage 1 would have. It's actually 74 jets on the primary and 45 metering rods. So it's exactly like what a stage 1 would have. I put the spring in the power piston for the stage 1, and more or less it's just stock replacement stuff. But this is how it turned out. So it does look pretty good. The guy's coming to pick it up tomorrow once I get the camshaft broke in today. And I'll put up some video of it running once we get it kind of dialed in. I don't really want to do it if the camshaft has a failure or something. But I doubt it will. It does have, I've got 6 quarts of Royal Purple braking oil in it. And but I'll attach some more video to this after we get the cam broke in and it's kind of dialed in somewhat of how it sounds and idle, the chop, the whatever it's got, you know, so you can check out how the cam sounds. If you liked it, you know, it's easy to get one if you can find a core. So other than that though, this is just a 69 430. It's going into Wildcat, so keep your eyes peeled for a pretty mean Wildcat coming out of Ohio. Good. It's just breaking in right now. Nothing's been adjusted. All right, it's my help for the day, Brian. He's unpaid. He's unpaid, so don't notice him. The cam is broke in. The motor runs at a pretty good low temperature. We have no thermostat in it. I had to take it out so it was airlocked. But idle, you're looking at 38 pounds of oil pressure. He's extremely snappy with this cam, and you can hear the cam. I mean, God, listen to this thing. So it does sound really healthy. But here we go.
Yeah, my carburetor's junk because the secondary door keeps hanging open. But yeah, I think it's pretty much ready to rock and roll now.